I'm Amy Eisenstein, and today I'm here with Shanon Doolittle, a fundraising mentor and donor care strategist. Hi, Shanon. Welcome.
Hi, Amy.
Thanks for being here.
I'm so excited to be here with you.
Good. Today we're going to talk about habits of successful fundraisers. So why don't you get started and tell us some of your favorite habits of successful fundraisers?
Absolutely. And let me start by just explaining what a habit is. So a habit is actually a routine of behavior that you unconsciously do.
Yes.
So one of the things that when it comes to habits and being a successful fundraiser is this idea of, let me give you an example, of gratitude. So obviously we know that if we want to keep more donors, we need to be grateful and we need to appreciate them. Yeah. So a habit would be something that has a cue, a routine, and then a reward, because that creates a habit loop. That's what actually creates the habit. And it's something that has to happen over and over again for it to become a habit.
Beautiful.
So one of the things that you want to think about, maybe from a gratitude perspective, is this. Let's say that you get your gift report. It comes on your desk or it comes by email from your data person who's awesome. Yeah. And you see, I got 4 gifts today, or the organization got 4 gifts today. That is my trigger, seeing that list, and I automatically then know my routine is to get into the database, find their phone numbers, and make a phone call to say, you are so wonderful, you've made our day, we just received your gift, we're gonna put it to work right away, helping Jimmy take therapeutic lessons with a horse today.
Beautiful.
You can do that. That's the routine. And then the reward is kind of that feel good, that just the endorphins of thanking and what happens in your body when you practice gratitude. Yeah. But one of the other things about forming habits is that you can have an intrinsic reward, which is that feel good, or sometimes to make a habit stick, what you have to do is have an extrinsic reward. So maybe what I have at my desk is every time I make a phone call, I have a gold star sticker and I put it on a piece of paper right behind my desk, because there's a reward in that, seeing myself get a gold star for making a call.
Yeah, that's absolutely wonderful. We all did that with our kids, right?
Right.
But it works just as well with adults, probably.
Right. It's kind of like, have you ever had a puppy? So it's that whole idea of trying to get a puppy to go outside to use the bathroom, which they don't like to do when they're puppies. But the cue is opening that door, them going outside. Their routine is to do their thing, and then when they come back inside, you reward them by giving them a treat. And after a while, they don't need the treat anymore, because they've formed the habit of, once the door opens, they know to go and do their business outside.
Yeah, that's great. I talk about habits a little bit too, and I like to talk about an impromptu dance party at your desk. So turn on your favorite song, crank it up, you get 1 minute to have an impromptu dance party after you've done your donor calls or said thank you or whatever it is that you need to do.
That's an awesome reward. That's an awesome reward. And I just love, like you, impromptu dance parties. I just think that those are the best things ever. Another habit, and actually I want to throw this back to you, is around productivity or efficiency. So one of the things as fundraisers is we have these goals that we need to meet. So what's a habit maybe that you use for yourself to try to reach a goal? So maybe what's a cue, your routine, and a reward that you have when you're trying to be more productive?
Yeah, I do have goals for myself. I set big goals every year, and then I break them down into monthly and weekly and daily goals. I don't know if I have a specific reward, but at the end of each day, I write down what am I going to do the next day, whether it's 15 minutes or an hour or 2 hours to get me towards that goal. So I'm pretty good about doing that habit, so maybe I don't need the reward. Maybe I'm trained already.
Because it's become a habit for you already. But I think the reward is for you intrinsically is that you start the next day automatically knowing what your focus is for the day.
That's true.
So I think that's the reward. So to be a successful fundraiser, sometimes we need habits, sometimes we don't, but there's certainly things that as fundraisers, we are put into situations on a day-to-day basis where we have to make decisions. And it takes a lot of brain space to make certain decisions, where if you had a habit around it, you don't have that brain space anymore you don't have to use the brain space anymore to do it because the habit is just there.
That's true.
So for instance, just like you said, around your goals, or I know the minute that I get into my office and the cue is I sit down at my desk, I turn on my monitor or I open my laptop, my routine is that I'm gonna be in email mode for an hour. And I am going to maybe use an app like Freedom.2 or something that gets rid of the distractions so that I can't pop over to US Magazine or people.com and just check out what just happened in celebrity news. I'm gonna be in my email for an hour, and once that hour's done, my reward is then I get 5 minutes to go to people.com and check out what's happening with Beyonce.
That's right.
That
After
kind
you
of
clear
thing.
your inbox.
After you clear your inbox.
Yeah.
But it's those kind of habits that it helps your brain not have to go through that rapid, which is tiring, that rapid sequencing of how do I make a decision about this. Instead, it's unconscious. You already know what you're doing.
Right.
And that's what's going to make you more successful.
Yeah, great. Good. So give us one or two other habits that maybe fundraisers can focus on that will help their fundraising.
Absolutely. So you know this very well as a major gift officer and someone that helps people do major gifts, is that once you do an ask, what's really important is that you follow up.
Yes.
And a lot of times we don't follow up, and that's why we don't get the money. And so the cue is I have sat down with a donor, I've given them a proposal, I have made the ask, and the donor has maybe said, let me think about it. But the cue after that meeting is to go back, get into your database or get into your calendar and say, or set up an appointment in 3 days, or maybe even less, I will follow up with that donor to ask them, do you have any questions about what we talked about? I really enjoyed that conversation. So that becomes the routine. And the reward, of course, hopefully, is that you get a generous gift from a donor that really cares about your cause. So that is another habit. And if I think of another habit, I think as a fundraiser, that I think helps you be successful is this whole idea around boundaries. Because let's talk about those. Our sector, the people in our sector, we're helpers. So we have a hard time saying no. And what happens, especially in small shops, you're wearing so many different hats. So a habit could be, if somebody asks you to help them with something, immediately we typically say, of course, sure, why not? Do we have the capacity for it? Absolutely not. So for me, in order to be successful, a really good habit as a fundraiser is when the cue of someone saying, Shannon, could you help me with this? Or I have a problem. The routine is to say, that is a really great question. Can I get back to you? Or can you send me a little bit more information by email? Because then sometimes maybe they won't send the email and it is no longer your problem. Or two, you haven't said yes. And that's the most important thing, because we take on so much as do-gooders, as nurturers, helpers, as fundraisers, and we really have to set our own boundaries. And we have to remember no is a complete sentence and be okay with that. So just that habit of when somebody or an email comes along that is a request for your help, not to immediately say, sure, I'd love to. Instead, the routine is, let me get back to you on that. And then the reward, of course, like extrinsically, maybe you have a piece of chocolate that you pop in your mouth. But what happens neurologically is that after a while, you no longer need the chocolate. Because intrinsically, you are just giving yourself a high five. You're doing an impromptu dance party in your heart because you just said no, and gosh darn it, you knew that was hard, but you feel really good about it.
That's right, and you have extra time to do the other things that you really want to focus on.
And that you
so that's the
should
reward,
focus on.
I think, as well. And no guilt, and it just evaporates off your shoulders once you say no and you're committed to doing the things that you need to be focused on.
Absolutely, and I know you and I are real believers in that idea of saying no, but saying it with grace. And also, when you say no, helping them find someone who maybe can help. So the idea of, I understand the question, I can't help you, but here's a blog resource, or here's a colleague that I think you could reach out to who would love to help you. So still helping them, but saying no at the same time.
Right. Those are some great tips. Any parting words that you want to leave with our viewers?
I would just say find a habit that you want to change, and it could be a bad habit, or maybe it's just a habit that we've talked about that sounds really, really good because it's something you've struggled with, and figure out, write down what's the cue, so what is the trigger that brings it up, so you know what that is, define what your routine is, so how you want to act once that cue or trigger happens, and then what your reward is going to be.
I think that's a great 3-point system, and one of the things that I struggle along with development directors that I'm helping start to raise major gifts for the first time is really picking up the phone and calling donors. So I said, okay, come into work, sit down every day, you're going to call at least 3 people, and then having a reward to make that really a habit of every day I'm just going to get to work and pick up the phone, whether I'm calling to say thank you, try and schedule a meeting, or whatever the case may be, ask them to volunteer or get involved or set up an ask meeting. Whatever you need to call for, you have to stay in touch with your donors, and it's just really stressful for a lot of development directors. So turning it into a habit, something that you do every day and get rewarded for, sounds great to me.
Totally, and one thing I would add too is track it. So, you know, have a little bubble sheet where you get to cross it off, like on a daily basis I did this. And here's my thing, it's progress over perfection when it comes to habit forming. So if you miss a day, let it go, no problem, start again. But the whole thing is be gentle with yourself because habits are hard to change, right? But you can do it, and when you do it, really, you become a more successful fundraiser.
Great. Well, Shannon, thank you so much for joining me today. It was a pleasure.
You know, I love you so much. Thank you for having me here today.
I hope you found this video empowering. As a member of the fundraising community, I hope that you will empower others by sharing this video with your friends and followers. If you'd like more videos and tips on fundraising, please visit my website, amyeisenstein.com. Thanks for all you do to make the world a better place.